two empires marched toward violent destiny. Between them stood faith, power, ambition. One battle would shatter ancient confidence. The battlefield waited beneath cold clouds. Chaldiran stretched silent beyond distant mountains. Ottoman banners moved beneath dark skies. Safavid banners answered across the plain. Thousands waited, gripping weapons and prayers. Nobody knew who would survive sunrise. Yet both rulers believed victory certain. Sultan Selim commanded the Ottoman Empire. Shah Ismail ruled powerful Safavid Persia. Both leaders carried dangerous imperial dreams. Both believed history favored their cause. Neither accepted sharing power with rivals. Their conflict grew beyond ordinary borders. It became a struggle for influence. Religion deepened every political disagreement further. Old tensions became threats, then war. Diplomacy slowly disappeared beneath rising anger. Selim feared Persia's expanding regional influence. Safavid ideas spread through Ottoman territories. Some communities admired Shah Ismail deeply. Ottoman leaders viewed this growing influence. They feared rebellion inside their empire. Selim believed decisive action became necessary. He gathered soldiers from distant provinces. Massive armies marched eastward toward Persia. Cannons followed behind disciplined infantry columns. Supply wagons crossed mountains and valleys. The journey became painfully difficult quickly. Heat exhausted soldiers during endless marches. Food became scarce across abandoned lands. Villages appeared empty before Ottoman troops. Fields had been burned deliberately beforehand. Wells offered little water for soldiers. Shah Ismail avoided direct confrontation initially. His forces destroyed Ottoman supply routes. Persian cavalry struck isolated marching groups. Then they vanished beyond distant hills. Selim grew furious with every delay. His exhausted army demanded immediate battle. Some soldiers questioned their dangerous journey. Others feared returning without victory home. Selim understood hesitation could destroy discipline. Therefore, he continued marching relentlessly eastward. Meanwhile, Shah Ismail gathered loyal warriors. His followers believed deeply in him. Many considered him spiritually protected somehow. His presence inspired extraordinary courage everywhere. Safavid cavalry trusted speed and swords. Their horses moved like thunder across. They had defeated many enemies before. Confidence filled every campfire conversation nightly. Yet Chaldiran would test that confidence. The Ottomans brought unfamiliar battlefield power. Heavy cannons waited behind defensive wagons. Janissaries carried deadly early firearms nearby. Shah Ismail trusted courage over machines. He believed faith could overcome artillery. But weapons were changing warfare forever. Ancient courage faced terrifying new technology. Soon, both armies reached Chaldiran's plain. The cold wind carried distant war drums. History waited silently before the storm. Dawn arrived slowly across Chaldiran's plain. Thick mist covered soldiers and horses. Both armies watched each other silently. Thousands waited behind banners and steel. The air felt heavy with fear. Yet nobody wanted weakness displayed publicly. Sultan Selim studied the distant cavalry. He understood their speed and courage. Therefore, he prepared carefully for impact. Ottoman wagons formed strong defensive barriers. Heavy cannons stood between wooden shields. Janissaries waited behind their protected positions. Their firearms remained loaded and ready. Every soldier followed strict battlefield orders. Discipline became Selim's greatest hidden weapon. Across the field, Shah Ismail watched. His crimson banners moved through mist. Loyal warriors surrounded their young ruler. Their confidence seemed impossible to break. They believed destiny protected their sovereign. Shah Ismail rode before assembled cavalry. His voice carried across the battlefield. He promised honor beyond fear today. Warriors raised swords toward the sky. Thousands answered with thunderous battle cries. Their horses stamped impatiently beneath them. Dust slowly rose above waiting ranks. Shah Ismail appeared completely fearless outside. But private doubts touched his thoughts. Could courage truly defeat Ottoman artillery? Could faith overcome unfamiliar battlefield machines? He refused allowing those doubts visibility. Leaders often hide fear behind confidence. His warriors needed certainty, not hesitation. Therefore, he raised his sword higher. The entire Safavid army answered loudly. Then scouts delivered troubling information quickly. Ottoman defenses appeared stronger than expected. Cannons covered every possible approach ahead. Defensive wagons blocked cavalry movement effectively. Some commanders recommended greater caution immediately. Others demanded an unstoppable direct charge. Debate spread through the Safavid command. Every decision carried dangerous consequences now. Waiting might weaken their soldiers' courage. Charging might lead toward disaster directly. Shah Ismail faced his greatest dilemma. He remembered victories from earlier campaigns. Fast cavalry had defeated powerful enemies. Speed always turned weakness into strength. Perhaps Chaldiran would follow familiar patterns. Perhaps Ottoman cannons would fail completely. Perhaps destiny still favored Persia today. He chose action instead of waiting. Orders moved rapidly across cavalry formations. Warriors tightened armor and gripped swords. Horses began moving toward open ground. Ottoman soldiers watched without changing positions. Selim remained calm behind his defenses. He trusted preparation more than passion. Suddenly, distant drums began beating faster. Safavid cavalry formed enormous charging lines. Their banners rose against pale sunlight. The ground trembled beneath countless hooves. Then Chaldiran's terrible battle finally began. Safavid cavalry exploded across Chaldiran's plain. Thousands of horses thundered toward Ottoman lines. Crimson banners whipped violently through smoke. Warriors raised swords and shouted fiercely. Dust swallowed the rising morning sunlight. Shah Ismail rode among fearless warriors. His presence strengthened every charging soldier. The Ottoman line remained strangely silent. Defensive wagons waited behind thick smoke. Janissaries stood motionless beside loaded weapons. Sultan Selim watched from protected positions. He waited until cavalry approached closely. Then Ottoman cannons fired together suddenly. The battlefield shook beneath massive explosions. Thick smoke covered soldiers and horses. Safavid formations broke under terrifying shockwaves. Horses panicked and changed direction wildly. Warriors struggled through dust and confusion. Yet many continued charging toward danger. Courage pushed them beyond reasonable limits. Another cannon volley tore across Chaldiran. The ground vanished beneath rising smoke. Still, Safavid riders crossed dangerous distances. Their swords flashed through burning air. They reached Ottoman defensive wagons finally. Fierce fighting erupted beside wooden barriers. Safavid warriors attacked from every direction. Ottoman soldiers answered with disciplined formations. Janissaries fired their matchlock weapons repeatedly. Bright flashes pierced the dark smoke. The noise overwhelmed every battlefield command. Orders disappeared beneath cannon thunder completely. Shah Ismail pushed deeper toward enemies. Loyal guards followed closely beside him. He searched desperately for vulnerable positions. Ottoman defenses seemed impossible to penetrate. Every opening revealed another prepared formation. Selim's strategy slowly trapped Safavid cavalry. Their speed became increasingly difficult there. Narrow spaces weakened their greatest advantage. Shah Ismail recognized the growing danger, but retreat could destroy morale completely. He ordered another powerful cavalry attack. Warriors gathered beneath shattered crimson banners. They charged again through cannon smoke. Their determination terrified Ottoman frontline soldiers. Some Ottoman ranks briefly began wavering. Selim immediately sent additional reinforcements forward. Fresh janissaries strengthened the defensive line. Cannons fired again across crowded ground. Safavid momentum slowly disappeared beneath fire. Horses stumbled through broken battlefield formations. Warriors became separated from their commanders. Confusion spread faster than battlefield orders. Shah Ismail continued fighting despite everything. His royal armor became covered with dust. He refused abandoning loyal soldiers behind. Then terrible news reached his position. Several important commanders had fallen already. The Safavid army began losing cohesion. Distant banners disappeared beneath Ottoman smoke. The battlefield no longer favored Persia. Shah Ismail faced an impossible choice: continue fighting or save surviving forces. Behind him, Chaldiran burned without mercy. Smoke covered the broken Chaldiran battlefield. Safavid warriors searched desperately for commanders. Their formations collapsed beneath relentless fire. Ottoman artillery continued shaking the earth. Shah Ismail watched his army struggle. Every moment brought another painful loss. His confidence slowly turned into disbelief. The invincible ruler suddenly felt human. He remembered promises made before battle. He remembered warriors trusting his destiny. Now those warriors needed survival urgently. Pride demanded one final attack immediately. Responsibility demanded protecting remaining soldiers instead. Both choices carried unbearable consequences forward. Shah Ismail looked across burning fields. Crimson banners disappeared beneath gray smoke. His closest guards urged immediate retreat. He refused abandoning wounded, loyal warriors. Therefore, he returned toward dangerous fighting. His guards followed without questioning orders. Together, they rescued trapped Safavid soldiers. Ottoman forces advanced from multiple directions. Every escape route became increasingly dangerous. Then Shah Ismail's horse stumbled suddenly. Enemy soldiers moved closer through smoke. His guards formed a protective circle. Swords clashed beside broken wooden wagons. The ruler narrowly escaped capture there. But many loyal companions remained behind. Their sacrifice opened a path outward. Shah Ismail finally ordered full retreat. The command spread through surviving formations. Safavid cavalry turned toward distant mountains. Some warriors refused leaving their comrades. Others carried wounded soldiers across horses. The retreat became chaotic and heartbreaking. Ottoman cavalry pursued scattered Safavid forces, yet darkness slowly protected many survivors. Shah Ismail reached a distant valley. He stopped beside exhausted remaining warriors. Nobody celebrated surviving that terrible day. Silence replaced their earlier battle cries. The young ruler removed his helmet. Dust covered his exhausted, grieving face. He realized faith had not guaranteed victory. Courage alone could not defeat artillery. The battlefield had changed forever now. New weapons demanded entirely different strategies. Meanwhile, Selim entered the captured battlefield. Ottoman soldiers raised banners in triumph. Cannons stood silent after devastating hours. Selim had achieved his greatest victory, yet victory brought unexpected problems afterward. His army remained exhausted and hungry. Supply lines stretched dangerously across mountains. Persia remained vast beyond Chaldiran's fields. One victory could not conquer everything. Selim marched toward Tabriz after battle. Ottoman forces entered Persia's great capital. However, soldiers feared remaining there longer. They demanded returning toward familiar lands. Selim eventually withdrew from Tabriz reluctantly. The victorious empire could not stay. Persia survived despite devastating military defeat. But Shah Ismail's world changed forever. Chaldiran ended, but its consequences remained. The battlefield became silent beneath smoke. Broken banners moved within cold winds. Thousands carried memories beyond that plain. Ottoman victory changed regional power forever. Safavid Persia lost confidence, not existence. Shah Ismail returned deeply wounded emotionally. His followers witnessed their ruler's vulnerability. The legendary leader suddenly seemed human. His aura of invincibility disappeared forever. He withdrew from many public appearances. Music and poetry replaced earlier triumph. Yet Persia continued rebuilding its strength. New leaders learned from Chaldiran's lessons. Armies slowly adopted firearms and artillery. Cavalry remained important, but insufficient alone. Warfare had entered a dangerous transformation. Technology now challenged traditional battlefield courage. Meanwhile, Ottoman influence expanded toward Persia. Selim secured important eastern territories permanently. However, complete conquest remained impossible still. Mountains protected Persia's vast interior regions. Long supply routes weakened Ottoman ambitions. Therefore, both empires survived their conflict. Their rivalry continued across later generations. Borders shifted through wars and treaties. Neither empire completely destroyed the other. Chaldiran created a lasting political divide. Its consequences shaped communities for centuries. Yet history remembers more than victory. It remembers courage facing unfamiliar weapons. It remembers faith confronting painful reality. It remembers leaders carrying impossible expectations. Shah Ismail believed destiny protected him. Chaldiran forced him to question everything. Sultan Selim trusted preparation over passion. His cannons transformed careful strategy into victory. But Selim also learned power's limits. Victory opened cities, not entire nations. Every empire eventually meets stronger resistance. The battle revealed an uncomfortable truth. Courage cannot always defeat superior technology. Faith cannot replace preparation and strategy. Yet machines alone cannot create empires. Soldiers, loyalty, and leadership still mattered. History rarely belongs entirely to winners. Defeated nations often return much stronger. Persia survived because its people endured. The Safavid state adapted after disaster. Future rulers rebuilt military strength carefully. Their empire continued shaping Persian identity. Chaldiran became a warning across generations. Never mistake confidence for permanent invincibility. Never ignore changes transforming the world. Ancient traditions can become dangerous weaknesses. But abandoning identity brings different dangers. Every generation must balance both forces. The battlefield eventually returned to silence, grass-covered weapons and forgotten paths. Mountains watched without remembering human ambitions. Empires celebrated, mourned, and changed afterward. But the cold wind continued moving. Perhaps history never truly chooses winners. Perhaps every victory creates another unanswered question. At Chaldiran, certainty died before dawn.